one thing that I've learned a lot from is a line that I heard on Joe Rogan's podcast this one time. And Joe Rogan is very similar as well. Like, he doesn't care if he's sitting in front of a fucking double PhD or a triple PhD or a Jordan Peterson or a Ben Shapiro or who, what have you, right? If something doesn't quite make sense to Joe Rogan, he will question it as opposed to being a sycophant or, someone inauthentic or someone like a phony who's just nodding or just agreeing with whatever the other person has to say. Joe Rogan does not care about authority, Joe Rogan had said on this podcast, he said, honest conflict has a lot more social value than dishonest harmony. Honest conflict has a lot more social value than dishonest harmony. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fucking line. And look, I've been a people pleaser all my life. I still am, although become less of a people pleaser, which is why, for me, it becomes very hard to actually engage in conflict with people, even though there might be a good reason for me to be engaging in conflict. I'm too agreeable as a person. But I'm just happy. I'm just so happy that I've become less agreeable as a person compared to what I was earlier. Earlier, because my self-esteem, my self-worth was like very, very, very low, I always put the other person on a pedestal. Always put the other person on a fucking pedestal. And I was like, you know what? If he or she is saying this, he or she must be right. I have to be wrong here because who am I? I never trusted my judgment. But now that, over the years, because of habits, because of certain things, because of certain happiness hacks, my self-esteem, my self-worth has gone up. Self-esteem is nothing but the reputation that you have with yourself. So the reputation that I have with myself right now is much better compared to what the reputation that I had with myself was earlier. And because my self-esteem, my self-worth has gone up, now I'm like, you know what? I have a disdain for fucking authority. I won't say disdain for authority. There's certain authority figures that I respect a lot. But I won't just simply respect someone or agree with what someone has to say only because he or she is an authority figure. I mean, you can disagree with someone, but you can disagree in a civil manner, right? You can disagree with someone in a polite manner. These days, what's happened is there's something called cognitive dissonance, which is when people take offense to someone who has different views compared to their own views, And so that's why like a civil dialogue, a cordial dialogue is not possible now. It's not possible. It becomes antagonistic very, very quickly. And that's something you see between like both sides of the political aisle, the left side of the political aisle and the right side of the political aisle. They just cannot come together for a cordial discussion. And it's very, very difficult. Like disagreeing with someone in a civil manner is very, very difficult because typically whenever someone disagrees with you, right, you take it to heart. You take it personally. You feel as if, you're being slandered, you're being vilified, you're being attacked by this other person. I never made it to the debate team when I was in school, although I tried. I made my best efforts, but I wasn't good enough in school in Calcutta to make it to my debate team. But something, while watching debates, while watching like the best of debaters debating on the podium, something that became very evident was the fact that the best of debaters always attacked the argument. They never attacked the person. Always attacked the argument, never attacked the person. And it's a skill, it's an art, but it's something that people will respect you for. If I disagree with you right now in a civil manner, or if you disagree with me right now in a civil manner, in the short term, maybe, you might end up ruffling my feathers or I might end up ruffling your feathers. But in the long term, you'll respect me for it or I'll respect you for it. In the long term, we'll be like, what? At least he or she had the balls to voice his or her opinion in a civil manner. On the other hand, whenever you just agree with someone, because you want to please the other person, then you might be more popular in the eyes of the person that you're agreeing with, right? But that person might not respect you for it. So it's always a trade-off. I've talked about this in previous videos as well. It's a trade-off between popularity and respect. You don't want popularity. You want respect. If you have to pick between one of the two, you want respect. It takes years for you to actually change yourself, because for so many years I've been a people pleaser, right? That's like hammered into my psyche. It's like deeply conditioned into me. And so, when something's been conditioned into you for many, many years, many decades, the unconditioning process does not happen overnight. It does not happen overnight. It takes a lot of time. It requires you to make a very deliberate, very concerted effort, a very mindful effort to uncondition yourself. But I think that line that I heard, honest conflict has a lot more social value than dishonest harmony, was a watershed moment for me. And that reminds me every day, Anubhav, you don't necessarily have to just agree with the person only because, the stature of the person on paper is greater than your stature, or this guy is, this hot shot. That you can disagree, but do so in a polite manner, in a graceful manner. Carl Jung had said, if you can bite, you generally don't have to. Matlab ki, if people know that, you have it in you to be dangerous, to be able to bite, then people don't mess with you. As a result of which, you generally don't have to bite. If you can bite, you generally don't have to. And so don't be so naive and exploitable and agreeable that people can walk all over you. Right? Have a little bit of character, a little bit of feistiness. You fucking love it. In the short term, as I said, you might ruffle a few feathers, but in the long term, people are going to really respect you for it. And no one is going to take you as a pushover. No one's going to be like, you know what? I can have him under my thumb, or I can walk all over this motherfucker.